over the last weekend. If you have been in Delhi NCR past month, you have been smoking a lot without actually lighting a cigarette. The worst days might be over, but pollution of the Indo-Gangetic plains every winter is a national shame. I'm going to focus on that. Also, two developments in the past week: Maharashtra election results and the violence in Sambal town of Uttar Pradesh make me come back to an issue that impacts both social harmony and political progress of the country. That of the need of integrating the Muslim minority, or the nation's second largest majority, with the national mainstream. Maharashtra results give a glimmer of hope. Sambal adds to some despair. I would connect the dots. And in our Foreign Affairs section, a lowdown on the phenomenon of tech bros, a phrase hitting headlines in the West since the victory of Donald Trump in the US presidential elections. Who are they? Are they different from Homo sapiens as a list? Western mainstream media has caught a bug that's giving them some stomach churn. It's called the tech bro. Look at some of the headlines and the graphics. It gives you an idea of the kind of strong sentiment, mostly negative, the tech bro is eliciting. Tech geek or nerd, white, male, narcissist, chauvinist, macho and misogynist. Typically owns a disruptive internet business in the Bay Area of California in the United States and is by default a billionaire. That's the image. Then why should it attract that strong negative sentiment? Because in the past decade, the tech bros have come into their own. In good measure, they collectively have their fingers on the future of human civilization. And then there's a more immediate concern. A bunch of them, led by Elon Musk, now controls the government of the United States of America. What's on the wish list? The tech bros want an anti-woke, low-on-regulation government, which they believe Trump would provide. That's why they all put their money where their mouth is. Venture capitalists like Mark Andreessen, Joe Lonsdale, Peter Thiel, all back Trump. David Sachs, PayPal founder, along with Thiel and Musk, startup investor and podcaster also, was there at Mar-a-Lago along with Musk on election results night. In his longish post, he explained Trump victory as one based on connecting with people and addressing the issues in their daily lives, versus Harris' campaign that just premised on name-calling and celebrity endorsements from inside the legacy media echo chamber. Palmer Luckey, founder of Anduril and Oculus, celebrated the victory by tweeting a screenshot from the animated Pokemon TV show. Mark Andreessen, another Menlo Park truckpreneur, tweeted on November 6th that it was time to build the United States. They see themselves as builders of a new American nation. They could be both pushing their libertarian ideals and taking Republican Party away from its traditional conservatism. Delian Aspurhoff, for example, another venture capitalist, rejoiced that finally under Trump, the government would have some of the most effective people on the planet at its beck and call. He describes himself as better with computers than people. Like Musk was born South African, Aspurhoff is Bulgarian. But like Musk, hates illegal migration and backs Trump on the issue. Joe Lonsdale, founder of Palantir and global tech and data company Adipar, and a couple of other tech companies, told a podcast ahead of elections, if Trump wins, some of my smartest tech friends might be running the government. He counts J.D. Vance as his friend and hosted the vice president-elect at his home for a private campaign dinner with more tech bros. Lonsdale also chairs a public policy group that says it works to prevent government bureaucrats from coming in the way of the American dream. What brings them together is investing and tech and hate for too much of government. Many of them have been a bunch for a decade or more. Peter Thiel and Musk, for example, go back to PayPal days at the turn of the century. The political influence machine that tech billionaires have built over the last few years in the United States is formidable in terms of its size and ambition. Now they would be using this financial and organizational muscle to build policies that suit their objectives and further their cause. And there's something more in common. There's certain testosterone-pumping masculinity that goes with being a tech bro. Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram, who was arrested a couple of months back in Paris for not cooperating with European security agencies on content moderation, announced this summer that he had fathered over 100 children through his sperm donation. Children conceived off his seed are spread through 12 countries, and he has declared plans to open source his DNA so that his biological children could find one another more easily. The more famous example, of course, is Musk, who has fathered at least 12 children with 3 women. It's a heady mix of narcissism, messiah complex, and dreams of immortality in these modern-day Genghis Khans. Let's now focus for a bit on the bro of bros, Musk. You would remember that frame of him jiving on stage with Donald Trump at a Pennsylvania rally ahead of the November 5 US elections. The Tesla chief is singularly being credited with the turnaround of the Trump campaign fortunes. The prospects were not looking great even till late summer. Then Musk came on the horizon, openly endorsed Trump, committed millions of dollars, at one stage gifting $1 million a day as a lottery to further the Republican cause. And when it came to brass tacks, parked himself in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania for a fortnight to swing it in favor of Trump. But for Musk buying Twitter and turning it into a conservative megaphone X, and then doubling down on the campaign personally, it is likely that we might have had a different outcome of the US presidential elections. Remember, Trump had to leave Twitter's left liberal avatar and launch his own platform, Truth Social, with little success. For all this effort, Musk has been handed over the thankless job, or seemingly thankless job, of cutting down the size of the US government. Obviously, there would be a pushback from the bureaucracy. Not that Musk is going to hate it. In hindsight, it is likely that he made all the effort only for this objective, to get the bureaucracy out of his way, to not let regulation impede his ambition. Musk is also the boss of SpaceX, Neuralink, the Boring Company, all at the cutting edge of technology, breaking not just new frontiers of science, but of human endeavor. SpaceX launches 100% of NASA's missions these days. Neuralink is pushing the limits of mental and physical capabilities of humans by turning them into part robots with embedded computer chips. The Boring Company is focused on the future of transportation. Taken together with social media platform X, it's a universe that parallelly competes with governments. So lesser the regulation, shorter the rules, easier for the tech bros to navigate faster towards their goals. Just so that you don't think it's about Trump. Back in 2022, Pentagon faced a scary situation. In one of the offensives, as the Ukrainian battalions entered the area of the Donetsk republics, a territory contested and occupied by Russia, their Musk-owned Starlink communication systems collapsed. Having provided Ukraine with his Starlink connectivity, Musk got restless as unpaid bills mounted. The Ukrainian forces were heavily dependent on his satellite infrastructure, which he enthusiastically provided at the beginning of the war. Few months into the war, and Ukrainians had no money to pay. Musk sent across a message by just pressing the switch off button. Panic set in. Top levels of the US government had to intervene. Ideally, a phone call from a junior bureaucrat dealing with the vendors would have sufficed. But realizing that Musk could make or break the Ukraine war efforts, Pentagon deployed a very senior official who was asked to be deferential to the mercurial billionaire on call, while requesting his continued support till the time that the US government arranged for some of the pending dues to be paid. This was also the time Musk would boast of being a phone call away from Putin, and would openly bat for a peace plan that had most of the Kremlin talking points incorporated. It is apocryphal to impose royal authority over the parliament. The 17th century king of France, Louis XIV, allegedly told the parliamentarians, "I am the state." Pretty close to that. Musk was asked in a podcast a couple of years ago whether he has more influence than the American government. He replied immediately, in some ways, yes. Another tech bro at loggerheads with Musk, Sam Altman, himself no stranger to tech bro traits of narcissism and obsession with future control, once said about his former boss, Musk desperately wants to save the world, but only if he can be the one to save it. Those who have swung from Democrats to Republicans and from Obama to Trump include the big fish. Meta boss Mark Zuckerberg went neutral during the campaign, writing a letter to the Congress that he was forced to help Biden personally by shadow banning news of his son's kickbacks in Ukraine. That was like currying favors with Trump. This Wednesday, Zuckerberg had a dinner with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago. For the first time since 1988, the Washington Post did not endorse a candidate at the behest of owner Jeff Bezos. The decision itself became a Trump endorsement, giving tailwinds to a key Trump campaign issue of media bias. In a way, the relationship of the corporate moneybags with politics is not new. The Nagar Seth, the city banker in ancient India, was a venerable institution having decisive role in the king's court. Our freedom struggle had the house of Birlas and the Bajajes bankrolling the Congress party. During the First World War, J.P. Morgan lent huge sums of money to the Allied powers. The Rockefellers poured money into the League of Nations. George Soros underwrote civil society reform in Eastern Europe post the breakup of the USSR. And Soros continues to tinker with governments even now. But that is all like kindergarten stuff by Musk's standards. Literally, at the press of a button, he can make Putin win the war. With another, he can disconnect NASA from its space assets, launching as he is 100% of the space agency's missions through his rockets. And now, with Trump in the White House, he would even decide if those bureaucrats from the Pentagon to the foggy bottom even get to keep their jobs. It's a tech bro world. Learn to live with it. Moving on. Maharashtra election results were a surprise on the lines of Haryana, handing victory to the incumbent BJP or NDA governments against the trends recorded by a majority of opinion and exit polls. At least 2 exit polls did get it right in the case of Maharashtra, while 100% of them were wrong on Haryana. The surprise element was owing to the turnaround from June, when the BJP had lost considerable ground. If June was the party's worst electoral performance in decades, November has brought the best ever. The post-results analysis is centered around 2 key factors. One, that there was a surge in women voting, and much of it went to the Maha Yuti due to the Majhi Ladki Bahin cash transfer scheme. This could be a reasonable explanation given that in Jharkhand, a similar cash transfer scheme called Mai Saman helped swing women votes in favor of Hemant Soren, bringing him back to power. 2. The counter-polarization of the majority Hindu community on the back of Ek Hai to Safe Hai pitch made the BJP emerge biggest winner in Muslim-dominated constituencies also. Let's look at this aspect in a little greater detail. Of the 38 seats in Maharashtra with over 20% Muslim population, BJP netted 14, increasing from 11 in 2019. Along with allies Shiv Sena and the NCP, which got 6 and 2 respectively, the Yuti got 22 of those 38 Muslim-dominated seats. The opposition MV got only 13, including 5 for the Congress, 6 for Uddhav Sena, and 2 for Sharad Pawar's NCP. The AIMIM, which styles itself as a Muslim party, managed to win only 1 of the 16 assembly segments it put up candidates on. This adds to the surprise, given that as a smart strategy, Owaisi's party had reduced its contests from 44 in 2019 to only 16 this time to conserve resources and focus sharper. The one MLA AIMIM would have in the new Maharashtra Assembly won by the lowest margin of this election of just 162 votes in Malegaon. Remember, this despite 2 prominent Muslim bodies, the All India Muslim Personal Law Board and the All India Ulema Board, coming out openly in support of the Congress and the MVA. The demands put forth by the two Muslim bodies, covered comprehensively during the news cycle by all media platforms, are variations of the 1929 14 Points Charter of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, which later got incorporated in the 1940 Lahore Resolution of the Muslim League. The Lahore Resolution also came to be known as the Pakistan Resolution and could be singularly held responsible for the tearing asunder of India into two countries with partition along religious lines in 1947. In this backdrop, the Maharashtra results are a heartening development. Little early to say that this is outright rejection of the Muslim vote bank politics by the electorate, but there's a pattern that is encouraging. If Majhi Ladki Bahin scheme has delivered cash across communities, and if women from the Muslim community saw this secular governance as kosher, if young men from the community realize that the Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link or the Atal Setu is a marvel that makes their lives better, if the startup schemes are delivering to them without discrimination, and if this has reflected in the voting pattern, it is to the credit of the Muslim community that they refuse to be seen as a herd of lamb dictated by the clerics, that they would exercise their right to vote as citizens in a secular relationship with the government. There is a reason to believe that Muslims did not carry out a feared vote jihad. The Baikala seat in Mumbai has 41% Muslim electorate. Here, the main contest was between the Uddhav Sena and the Shinde Sena, and not between the Congress and the AIMIM. There are similar examples from across the state explaining Maha Yuti's lead over the MVA in the 38 seats that have a substantial minority vote. And while all eyes were on Maharashtra, a bigger story unraveled in an Uttar Pradesh bipole. Kundarki Assembly segment in Moradabad district showed a miracle result. BJP won the seat, which has 65% Muslim population. The party's candidate Thakur Ramveer Singh's victory against 11 Muslim candidates, including one of the Samajwadi Party, could not be without Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas working on the ground. And if that be the case, where does BJP's politics go from here? The Ek Hai to Safe Hai slogan was the BJP's response to the possible Muslim polarization it saw during the general elections. On the Muslim side, a repeat of Lok Sabha pattern did not happen, giving the BJP dividends. As they say, you cannot make a souffle rise twice. In which case, going forward, would the BJP broaden the appeal of Ek Hai to Safe Hai, taking the communal sting out of it, and make it inclusivist on the lines of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas? That brings me to a seemingly unconnected development: the violence that has broken out in Sambal town of Uttar Pradesh. A court-appointed survey team faced resistance from the Muslim community, leading to stone pelting and subsequent police action on November 24th. Clashes have already claimed 5 lives. The issue has reached the Supreme Court. Prima facie, there seems to be a case of shortcuts at the level of the district court, which issued ex-parte survey order of the disputed site. It's a time-tested legal aphorism. Justice should not only be done, but should also be seen to be done. Without going into the merits of the case, little more caution in following due process would have prevented a law and order situation emerging in the sensitive town. The Hindu angst about a civilizational wrong against their places of worship during medieval times is real, not imagined. Those destructions happened, and happened in a planned manner. There might be 100,000 such sites spread across the country. Even in Sambal, there's a stone edict which mentions Babur's role in the destruction of an existing temple over which a mosque was laid. But the question is, should correction of that civilizational wrong be allowed to ruin our present and jeopardize our future? Was RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat being a lesser Hindu when he questioned the need to look for a shivling beneath every mosque? In the same address, he added that RSS was not in favor of launching any other movement on these issues. Let's listen in.
हमने 9 नवंबर को कह दिया कि एक राम जन्मभूमि का आंदोलन था, जिसमें हम अपने प्रकृति के विरुद्ध किसी ऐतिहासिक कारण से उस समय की परिस्थिति में सम्मिलित हुए, हमने उस काम को पूरा किया। अब हमको कोई आंदोलन वगैरह करना नहीं है। ज्ञानवापी के बारे में हमारी कुछ श्रद्धाएं हैं, परंपरा से चलती आई, हम कर रहे, ठीक है, परंतु हर मस्जिद में शिवलिंग क्यों देखना?
We need to think, can some of the Hindu activists listen to the RSS chief at least? Muslim intransigence in accepting or not accepting medieval thuggery for what it is, just medieval thuggery, of using some laws as shields while obstructing other constitutional provisions that aim to build a common religion-neutral citizenry, does not lead us to a national contract. We need to go back to the drawing board as a society, as a nation, and that leads me to the third topic in today's episode, one which affects Hindus and Muslims, Christians and Sikhs, and every breathing soul in the country alike. We choked, our eyes burnt, our lungs smoked the equivalent of 4 packs of cigarettes every day. We lived through a gas chamber called Delhi. Some might have died. All of us reduced our life expectancy this month. From the all-knowing Supreme Court judges to the abundant street urchin at the New Delhi railway station. From the cabinet secretary who thinks that this nation moves at the snap of his finger to the peon in his office who thinks the file cannot complete its journey without his short walk between 2 tables. From the parliamentarians who fancy themselves as Caesars ordained to their chamchas who believe their lords can do no wrong. From the Delhi chief minister who cries when her boss comes out of jail but only thinks combat otherwise on governance issues. To the voter in Kalkaji, Atishi's constituency, who voted hoping something would be done of this annual death warrant that fills the air of Delhi every winter. Each one of us lost a few years of our lives in the gas chamber. When a public health emergency hits, there are physical manifestations. Ambulances blowing sirens, medics rushing through trauma centers, stretchers being pushed, ICUs full of patients on life support. There was nothing of that sort as Delhi and the extended national capital region choked on pollution. Perhaps that invisibilization of slow but sure death explains the bureaucratic response, the political slugfest, the taking in your stride acceptance. Chalta hai. Perhaps the lack of drama in the collective homicide explains the absence of protests at Jantar Mantar, blockading of parliament at Vijay Chowk. There are no farmers at the Singhu border now stopping traffic on the highway. Some of them could have been busy alighting those stubble fires for the genocide. They can't be put in jail because they perform the important function of tilling the land so that you and I have our food and die after that. The farmer leaders wearing green caps have vanished in thin air, perhaps consumed by the grime of the stubble burning. Nowhere to be seen were those rent-a-cause activists who create slogans out of the same thin air, maybe lulled by the love for those farmers. Also missing were the toolkits of those crypto Greta Thunbergs who believe their social media posts set the nation's agenda. The Diwali crackers are bad socialites took the opportunity to have their social media detox break in Goa perhaps with its 45 AQI. We failed as a society. We failed as a nation. Our institutions failed. The pollution control boards control anything but pollution. The green tribunal bureaucracies feel a sense of self-importance, imposing graded response action plans, as if a graded dying is okay. After all, choking lungs do not have the same glamour as a heart attack. Our courts choked like our lungs. Our political parties genuflected before the stubble-burning mafia. Our bureaucracies tottered. Some of those pension-secure stupid clerks might have felt great satisfaction that they shut down schools for a day and saved our children 5 breaths, 5 extra breaths. Our NGOs delivered nonsense. Our media, me included, proved to be ostriches. Make no mistake, I mean every word of this. You know how serious the situation is when a yoga teacher asking to postpone classes till smoke goes away is not a meme. It happened for real when I approached one for my mother this past fortnight. The oxygen cylinder supplier said he was doing brisk business. The AQI monitors of the Central Pollution Control Board maxed out, meaning they showed a reading of 500, the maximum that those meters can record, which means that actual air quality in Delhi was much more toxic. A couple of years ago, I was meeting a diplomat in Khan Market. That's where they prefer to meet, unfortunately, to conform to the upward mobility of India as a nation. I asked how her Delhi posting had been since it was a farewell meeting. She said New Delhi is considered a punishment posting among the diplomatic corps in our national capital. Taken aback, I asked why. She said it was due to the pollution here. It's a hard family posting, and most governments give an extra allowance to entice their diplomats if they choose to serve in Delhi. It's no cheap thrill. It's a national shame. Shame on the Aam Aadmi Party if it saw votes in the criminal burning of stubble in Punjab. Shame on the BJP if it thought a choking Delhi would vote out AAP with vengeance come January. Shame on the executive, both the IAS and IPS in Punjab, Haryana and Delhi, which did not treat a national emergency as a national emergency. Perhaps the thaw with China along the LAC in Ladakh is in time. The first thing we should do is to get the Beijing city fathers as consultants for Delhi. Complete the shame, learn from China, and make sure we don't breathe poison next winter. Thanks for watching.